Okay, let's go back to our class. Probably the most powerful thing about computers is that they can repeat things over and over very quickly. There are several ways to repeat things in Python, and the most common are using for loops and while loops. Now today, under the topic for loops, we are going to learn the following. So at the end of the lecture, the students will be able to first use a for loop to solve problems that requires repetitions. Use for loop to print arithmetic and geometric sequence. Use for loop to display different figures using asterisk. All right, now we will start our discussion by discussing the code here. Now, let's start with our first example. The following program will print hello 10 times. This is the program, and this is actually the form or the structure of your for loop. So let's focus more on the program. So you have here for. For is a reserved word. In is also a reserved word. So I here is actually your variable loop. This is a range function, which the argument can be a number. Let's say if you use one number, one or what you call this one argument, let's say 10, it will print, yeah, it will store the value from 0 to 9 to your um, loop variable, which is I. In that case, I is your loop variable. So in this code, it will display hello 10 times. Okay. The argument inside your range is actually the number of times that will repeat the loop. So don't forget, at the end of your for statement, you have here your colon, meaning to say, no, if this is eliminated, the loop will not run. So you have to put a colon here followed by what your statement. This is your loop statement. No, this is the statement inside your loop. So let's go back here. Now let's enter now from this colon. We are going to press enter, and automatically it will produce an indentation. So this is your indentation for loop, meaning to say all codes i- indented in the for loop is actually inside the loop. no. If the code is here outside of the indentation, let's say I will print end here. So meaning to say this is the end of the loop. Okay, let's try. Let's run this code. So this code will print hello 10 times, and then outside the loop we will print end. Okay, meaning that's the end of the code. So I have here hello, which is printed 10 times. No, after 10 times, it will exit the loop and will print end. Okay. Now, if I'm going to put this end inside the loop, it will not only print hello, but it will print hello and end 10 times. Let's try. Run the code. So as you can see here, it prints hello. Next line is end. Hello and 10 times. So if you are going to remove this out, if you are going to put the last line outside the loop, so you are going to remove the indentation. So again, run the code. It will only print hello 10 times, and after that, it will print the end on one time only, because that is outside your loop. Okay, that's how indentation works inside your for loop. All right, now let's study more about the structure of a for loop. So this is the structure. You have here your for statement or your for function. So fa- a variable, after for, you have here your variable name. This is called your for loop variable or your loop variable. So in range, and then inside the range function, you have here the number of times to repeat that statements to be printed here. Okay, so you have to follow the structure of a for loop. Take note of the indentation. Okay, if this is not indented, meaning to say it is not part of the loop. Okay, syntax is important here. The word for must be in lowercase. Take note, for here must be in lowercase. The first line must end with a colon. Okay, take note of the colon here. This is your first line. It ends with a colon. And the statement to be repeated must be indented. So you have here the indentation. Now, indentation is used to tell Python which statement will be repeated. So like what we have done a while ago. Okay, now let's try example number 2. Now let me read the problem here. Okay, let me read the problem. Okay, example number 2. The program below asks the user for a number and prints its square. Okay, then asks for another number and prints its square. It does this 5 times and prints that the loop is done. So now let's review the problem. Okay, according to the problem, um, you will ask the user to input a number. Okay, and the number entered by the user now will be printed as a square, meaning the square of that number. Then ask another number and prints its square. Ask another number and prints its square. So it does that 5 times. So using for loop, now we can do that uh, the easy way. So if you are required to do this multiple times, let's say 100 times now. So for loop should be used or loop should be used in this problem. Okay, now let's start with by creating our algorithm. Okay, our first step is to ask the user to input a number. So the number here now is will be squared, no, will be stored. Will be stored to a certain variable. So we will call the variable num. And then our third step is to print the square of that number. Okay, and then add one to the loop. So meaning to say initially the loop is initially you have your first loop. So take note, add one to the loop variable. So meaning to say when the variable is I, initially it is 0. So add one to I, it becomes 1 until such time the loop will exit. So here, no, in our fifth step, you are going to loop back. So when you say loop back, you are going to go back to the first, to the step here, the step 1. Okay, you're going to go back, loop back to step 1 5 times. Okay, because you are required here to enter 5 numbers. So it requires 5 times. Now it will go back to step number 1. It will ask again to input a number, square that number, print the number, and then add 1 to the loop variable, go back again, okay, 4 5 times. All right, and then the last step is the end of the loop. Okay, now let's follow this algorithm and we will create a program that prints the square of a number entered by the user 5 times. Okay, in your algorithm, no, you will ask the user to input a number and store that. That will be your step 2. Store that to the variable num. So this is my variable num. I will be using eval here, and I will read uh, the number, no, using the input function. And this is my message to the user. Enter a number. Okay. Okay. Enter a number. Now the number will be stored in the variable num. Okay. Now what are we going to do with the variable num? We are going to print, no, the square of that number. So I will have the print statement here. Okay. Print. Okay. Okay. The square. Let's say I will print this one. The square, okay, of, okay, I will be using curly brace here, curly brace, okay, the square of blank, no, our last time, no, we called it blank, no, the square of blank is blank, okay, and then we will put the variable for that blank. So in the first blank, no, I will be using the number variable. That is your the num you that is the number you have entered. Okay, and then the square of that number. That is the next blank. The square of that number is num raised to the power of 2. Okay, now before uh, running this program, I will add here \t in my print statement. Okay, now take note, add 1 to the loop variable. No, it will automatically add, no, 1 to the loop variable if we are going to use for loop. Okay, and then loop back to step 1. So this is my step 1. I will insert my for loop here, for. Okay, I will be using the loop variable as I. Let's say for I. Okay, for I in range. How many times are we going to print the numbers? So 5 times. For I in range of 5, don't forget to put your semicolon and then use indentation. Okay, meaning to say all the statements that are indented here is part of the loop, which means, it will repeat. In this case, we will repeat, reading the number entered by the user, and then we will print the square of that number. Okay, that's it for our for loop. Now let's try to run the code. Okay, I will remove empty spaces here. Okay, now let's run the code. Run. Okay, you will be prompted to enter a number. I will enter 8. Press enter. Okay, it will display the square of 8 is 64, and the user will again be prompted to enter another number. Let's say 5. Okay, and then it will print the square of 5 is 25. And then again, no, the user will be prompted to enter a number, let's say 6. And then it will print the square of 6 is 36. Enter another number, let's say 2. The square of 2 is 4. And the last one, enter a number, let's say 7. Okay, that's 5 times. No, that's how for loop, no, is used, for repeated what we call that, statements. Now, if you are going to repeat your statements over and over again, now you will use for loop. Now, since now we have mentioned while loop, in our opening of this topic. Now, the difference between for loop and while loop is that you will use a for loop if you know how many times are you going to apply the loop. So, meaning to say, you know how many loops you are going to create, then use for loop. if you don't know, if you don't, let's say, if you are not sure on the number of iterations you are going to make, then use while loop. So that's the rule. Okay. By the way, let's go back to the variables here. Okay, not here. The loop variable. Okay. A while ago, we mentioned that I here is actually your loop variable. Okay. That is your loop variable. Now, when the first loop starts, no, Python will set no, I equals to 0. Take note, when the first loop starts, Python will set I equals to 0. Meaning to say, if the range is 100, now starting from 0, you will end up to 99. So 0 to 99 is 100. So that's the number of repetitions that you will be making. Okay. Okay, now let's read the documentation here. Now, each time we loop back up, Python increases the value of your I by 1. Take note, it is automatically increased by 1. Okay, meaning from 0, it will become 1. No? After the loop back, it will become 2, it will become 3 until it reaches 99. So, and that is the final value. Okay, so it is a convention in programming to use the letters I, J, and K for loop variables. Take note, um, in using the loop variable, no, most of the time, this is the convention actually. When you say convention, no, it is widely used. Okay, to use a loop variable using this variable I, J, and K. But you can also use any other variable. Okay, and we will learn that now when we reach that topic. Okay, now the range function. A while ago, now we have discussed that 100 is actually your argument of your function range. So meaning when we say range 100, meaning to say the value is from 0 to 99. Okay, that's how a range function works. Like for example, if you have here range 5, now it will produce 5 values starting from 0, which is 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, now here are the syntax. Okay, when we say syntax, this is actually the grammar of programming. When your grammar is wrong, no, the program will not function, or it will not execute properly. Same is true with English language. No, you have there the grammar. If the grammar is wrong, maybe the sentence will not be correct. All right, now let's study the syntax more. Now, in the range function, you have here the most, you have here up to 3 arguments. Take note, these are your arguments. Okay, if you are using only one argument, meaning to say the number inside the range function tells you the number of repetition. Like for example, if you have 100, meaning to say it will repeat 100 times starting from 0 up to 99. Now, if you have the range function with 2 variables, take note, with 2 arguments, in this case, the argument is the start value, and the next argument is no, the number up to the number, but not included that number. Let's say when we say not included that number, when we say the range from 1 to 10, let's say range, okay, these are your argument 1 and 10, range 1 comma 10, meaning to say it will start the value from 1 until 10 but not included 10. So meaning to say from 1 to 10, no, it will only display 1, 2, 3 up to n minus 1, which is 9. Okay. If the range is 3 to 7, meaning to say it will only use the value from 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay. The number, the end or the end value, of the range, will always be 1 less than the number set here. Okay. Now, if you are going to use the range function, using 3 arguments, no, the last argument is actually used for increment. When we say increment, that is the difference between the first term and the second term. That's the difference. Like for example, range 2 comma 15 comma 3, meaning to say the number will start at 2 and it will end not at 15. Okay, it will end before 15 with an increment of 3, meaning to say starting from 2 you will add 3, that becomes 5. 5 is added to 3, it becomes 8. 8 added by 3, it becomes 11. 11 added by 3, it becomes 14. Now if you add 3, it will become 17, and 17 will be eliminated, so it will only print up to 14 numbers. Okay, when this is positive, let's say positive 3, meaning to say the numbers are increasing. Okay, take note of that. No, the numbers will increase if you put a positive number as an increment. That, and take note and make sure the first number is lower than your last number. Like for example, 2 is lower than 15. Now, let's say I want to display the numbers, starting from the highest going to the lowest. So you can use this function. So we have here range 9, meaning to say the number will start print counting from 9, and it will end, okay, up to not 2, of course. Now the number here, the number displayed here will not be printed. So the number before 2, with a increment of -1. So negative increment, now we call it decrement. So meaning to say starting from 9, you will add -1, it becomes 8. You will add -1, becomes 7, until you reach 3. Okay, because if you add -1, it becomes 2, and 2 will not be printed. So it will only print 9 to 3. That's how the range function works. Okay, now to illustrate the range function, we are going to solve example number 2. So if you will notice, I am not creating an algorithm. No, since we will only display the numbers here using for loop. No, I will not be creating an algorithm here for a while. Okay. Okay, now example number 2, we are going to write a program using for loop that prints all the even numbers from 1 to 50 horizontally. Take note, we are going to print it horizontally. So in this case, now I will be using a variable. We call this one your loop variable. So this time I will be using j as my loop variable. So let's say for j in range, okay, take note, okay, we are going to print numbers, even numbers between 1 to 50. And make sure that your first number should also be an even number. So from 1 to 50, the first number which is even is 2. Take note of that. Since we are going to, since 50 is also an even number, we will end the value until 51. What will be the increment here? Okay, the increment will be 2, because if we started with 2, the next number will be 4, the next number will be 6, and the last number will be 50. and 50 will also be printed here. Okay, don't forget your colon, and then we are going to print the value of j. Take note, initially j, in your for loop, this is your loop variable j. I will increase the size. Initially j is assigned to the value of 2. Okay, so it will print j. Okay, and I will be using the end uh, argument here. This is your optional argument in your print function. I will use this end argument. Okay, I mean, so when we say end argument, it will print whatever is written here, and it will put an end argument here. In this case, I will be using a space, okay, a single space. Meaning to say, it will print the value of j, and then it adds space, print another one, add space, print another one, add space. So technically, it actually prints the number horizontally. Okay, let's try to run the code. So you can see here that the numbers now are printed horizontally, starting from 2 until 50. Okay, these are the even numbers from 1 to 50. Okay, that's how range with 3 arguments work. Okay, let's go to example number 3. So this time we are going to write a program using for loop that will display all the odd numbers. So odd numbers starting from 50 to 1 in decreasing order. So take note, it is we will print this in decreasing order and display it horizontally. Now using for loop, let's say I will be using k as my loop variable. So for k in range, take note, I will be using 3 arguments inside my range function. And the first argument is my start value. Take note, 50 here is not an even number. 50 is an even number, I mean. So meaning to say, the next number will be 49, will be an odd number. Okay. And we are going to end now our print up to 1, meaning to say, if you want to print 1, you will have to write here the number after 1, which is 0. And we will use -2 as our increment. Take note, a 49 added by -2, it will become 47. Added by -2, it will become 45 until it reaches the value 1. Okay, semicolon. And then we will print the numbers, the value. Okay, so in this time, I will be printing the value of k. Initially, k is equal to 49. And I will use the optional argument here. And I will put a space in between the numbers. So this is the code when you print the numbers horizontally. If you want to print the numbers vertically, you can remove this. Let's try. If we are going to print this vertically, just remove the end argument of your print function. And then the numbers will be printed vertically starting from 49 down to the last number 1. Okay, now since the problem states that you have to print it horizontally, then we will use the end function. Why? This is much easier if you want to print the output, including the problem here. So it will, you can screenshot the problem, including your program and the output of your program once only. Okay, so that's it for printing odd and even numbers. We call this one your sequence. Okay, when we say sequence, it can be arithmetic sequence or geometric sequence. Now, our previous 2 examples are arithmetic sequence because they have a common difference. In this case, the common difference here is 2. When we say common difference, that is the difference, of the next number to the previous number. All right, now let's have example number 4 here. So we are going to write the program that outputs 10 lines. Okay, we already know what is the number of repetitions. So 10 repetitions, numbered from 1 to 10. Each of your name on it by prompting the user to enter the user's first name, the username first. Okay, so we are going to write a program that will print your name and a number before your name, starting from 1 to 10. Okay, now since this is not a sequence, now we can use an algorithm here. First, allow the user to enter the name, then store the variable or store the name in the variable name, and then we are going to print the number and the name. Increment. Okay, I will add here increment. Since we are using for loop, it automatically increment the loop variable. So you are going to go back to step 1 10 times. Okay, and then end the loop, okay, after 10 times. Okay, now let's start by following the algorithm. So we will prompt the user, since name is a string. uh, we will start with an input function here. So enter your name. Okay, assuming you will ask the user to enter his or her name. Okay, the name entered by the user will be stored in the variable name. After that, we are going to take note. You will only prompt the user once. So meaning to say name is not part of the loop. So here is your loop for, I will be using I as my variable, loop variable. So for I in range, how many times? 10 times. Okay. We know already that the range is 10 times. Okay, take note, I here will take the initial value of 0. So meaning I will have the value from 0 up to 9. Okay, we will print the statement here, starting with the number. So I will be using a curly brace here to indicate that this is a blank. Okay, this is the blank. Okay, and this is your name. Okay, blank, and this is another blank is your name. So I am using here curly brace. Okay, now I will format this. Okay, my first variable is I. Take note, no? Your first variable will display the number. Okay, so in this case, I here is initially 0, but in the problem, no, you are going to display the number 1 up to 10. Okay, so since I here starts with 0, so it is good if we are going to add 1 here, so that when I equals to 0, it will display 1 in your first blank here. Okay, comma, and we will display the name after the number. Okay, that's it for your code. Now let's try. Let's try to run the code. So enter your name. My name is Jelby. Okay. Okay. Guapo. Okay. Lagos. Okay. You can insert any what do you call this? Any nickname you want. So, and I want this nickname. Guapo means good programmer. Okay. All right. Now enter. Press enter, and it will display the number and your name. So 1 to 10 now will be displayed. What will happen if we are going to remove 1 here? So let's try to remove 1 and let's see what will happen to the numbers before the name. So let's say Pete. Okay. Okay, this is my friend Pete and his nickname is Toy. Okay, press enter. Hi. So take note, no, um, I removed 1, no, from I. So and it displays 0 to 9 because that is the value of I now in range 10. Okay, 0 to 9. Okay, that is why we need to put a number. We need to add 1 no, to the number. So again, add 1. Okay, name is Shelby. Okay, Pugdokon. Okay, this is my name. Press enter and it will display numbers from 1 to 10. Okay, and then my name. All right, now that's it for example number 4. We proceed to example number 5. This time, now we are going to create shapes, okay, using asterisk. Okay. All right. Now, our first problem is to write a program that will print a 5 by 5 square. Take note, this is a square using the asterisk. Okay, now we will start a program. Now, so take note, this is 5 by 5 square. So 5 by 5, I can do this. Now, let's say print. Oh no, let's start with 4 since we will be using for loop here. So for I, let's say my loop variable is I. For I in range, let's say 5. Since we already know how many times are we going to, how many lines we will be printing. Okay, then I'm going to print, okay, asterisk 5, asterisk. How many times? 5 times. So I will put here multiplied by 5. So if this string will be multiplied by 5, meaning say it will print the string 5 times. No, we already know that no, during our first activity. Okay, let's run the code and we will let's see now if the triangle is a rectangle will be or the square will be printed. So as you can see here, no, this is not a square, and in fact this is a rectangle. So we will add a space here, okay, one space after the asterisk, no, so that it will actually look like a square when you press the run function. Okay, run the code and you there you go, you have 5 by 5 square. Okay, now 5 by 5 square. Now we can also do this. No, I will insert another code. This is an alternate code, no, because I will be using uh, nested for loop. When we say nested for loop, now there is an existing loop, no, inside your loop. We call it nested loop, no, and we will discuss that later on. No, and I will show you. Okay, alternate solution using nested loop. Okay, so this is my alternate solution. So I will be using two loops now. My first loop is I, let's say I in range, okay, 5, because we already know how many times now we will print this code. So, okay, now, so this is 5 times, okay. Now, since that is 5 times, I can create another loop, no, that will print, no, horizontally the asterisk, no, 5 times. No, but before that, no, I'm going to create a blank function, a blank what you call blank output first. Okay, I will use print blank, and then I will use a for loop here. This time I will be using J. same range. Since this is a square, I can still use 5 because we will be printing 5 asterisk. Okay, now we will print the asterisk here 5 times. Okay, space. Okay, and we will insert an end argument. Okay, end argument. So if you remove the space here in your end argument, you can insert a space, and that's fine. Okay, now what does this code do with our loop? Okay, let's go back now. Let's go here. In your first loop, the value of I, it will print one line. So how many lines are you going to print? 5. It will print asterisk in the first row, assuming this is the row. So how many times are you going to print? So depends on the inside loop. So in this case, j is the variable, is the loop variable for the inside loop. And you have here the number of repetitions. So meaning to say, it will print asterisk now with a space now as our as the end argument. It will print 5 asterisk like this one. Okay, that's for the value of I equals 0. So another loop, when it loop back outside the loop, it will increment I, it becomes 1. And take note, 1, no, meaning this is the second row, it will print another 5 asterisk. Let's try. Run. Here, there you go. 5 asterisk. Now, if you want to print, let's say, I want to print 7 asterisk. Okay, meaning to say it will print the first row 7 asterisk, the second row 7 asterisk, until the 5th row. So this is the 7 asterisk. So this is what we call your nested loop. Okay, now if you want to print 7 by, let's say 7 by 8 or 8 by 7, you can just change the value here. Let's say I want to print 8 rows, okay, and 7 columns. Okay, that's it. Now run the code, just change the number. You have here 8 rows, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 7 columns, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's it for our alternate solution. Okay, let's go back to the problem here. Let's print 5 and 5 now. Okay, that's it. This is your first solution using a single loop. This is your second solution using a nested for loop, meaning to say there is a loop inside your for loop. Okay, now let's have problem number 6. Write a program that prints a square, okay, by prompting using asterisk, by prompting the user to enter the size of the square. Okay, now remember, when you print the square, now this is just the code. And if you want, and the number here is actually the size of the square. Now if we will change this number to a variable, no, and then we will read value, we will allow the user to change that variable, and then we can solve the problem here. Okay, now let's start now by creating a code that will input uh, the size. Oh, we will prompt the user to input the size of the square. Let's say eval. Okay, eval, and then input. Okay, enter the size of the square you want to print. Okay, so size here is actually the value 5 in this code. Now if I'm going to create, okay, take note, we are going to ask the user one time only. So size here equals to eval input, no, will only run one time. So that is outside your for loop. So for I, equals for I in range. Okay, take note, range. Now in this case, the range will be the size of your square. Okay, now and then it will print asterisk. Okay, I have here asterisk with a space, or you can say asterisk without space. No, asterisk with a space, and then multiply it by size. Okay, so it will print asterisk with a space multiplied by the size. So meaning to say, if the size is 5, so it will print 5 by 5. Okay, let's try. I will input 5, and it will print 5 by 5 square. So if I'm going to change the value, let's say I want 10, and it will print a 10 by 10 square. And that's how you create shapes using asterisk. Okay, now let's create a rectangle using the asterisk by asking the user to input the length and the width. Okay, now let's start creating our rectangle by first asking the user to enter the length and the width, or that is the size. Okay, so I will label this one. My first variable will be the length equals to, let's say, eval input. Okay, enter the length. Okay, now we will prompt the user to enter the width of the rectangle. So I have here input. Okay, input, then enter. Okay, okay, enter the width. Okay, now we have the size, the length, and the width. Now this is the same problem, the same solution that we did now in this alternate solution using okay, using this method. So we can use this method. Okay, this is the first solution. We can use this solution to create a rectangle. Okay, now using for loop, I will use I as my variable. So in range, now this is the size. Now I will label this as my length. So whatever the size I entered for the length, that will serve as my number of repetitions. Okay, so that's the length. Okay, now if I'm going to print asterisk, okay, asterisk with a space, and then multiply that to the number of times, or the size. So this time this is the width. So I'm going to enter the length and the width. So take note, whatever value you have entered in your width will multiply asterisk and space. So meaning to say, it will create a horizontal or a row display. Okay, so let's start now by running the code. So enter the length. Let's say I'm going to enter 5. Okay, in my width, I'm going to enter 3. So meaning to say, okay, we are print asterisk width. What is the error here? Let's see. Integer objective. Okay, now this is wrong. Width and width. This should be eval. Okay. Okay, sorry for that. Sorry, but I'm not sorry. Okay. Take note, a traceback. This is called your traceback. So traceback will help you debug your code. Debug means to eliminate errors. Okay. So in this case, here, it will display where the error occurs. the line where the error occurs. In this case, now it displays the line 3, which is visible here that this is actually the error. So you can use int or float or eval. So I will be using eval here. So again, and run the code. Okay, let's change it to 8. That's the length, and my width is 5. You will see now the length is 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and this is my width, which is equal to 5. Okay. Okay. Now you can use, instead of length and width, you can just use rows and column. Because why rows and column? Because if I'm going to input, let's say, my length to be 4 and my width to be 8, no, no, it does not coincide with what my variable here. When we say length is equal to 4, okay, here is actually the lower value will actually be called width, and the higher value will be your length. So instead of using length and width, you can just say rows and columns. Okay, you can just say row, column, tapos you can write here, enter the size. Let's say enter the vertical size. Okay, this is the vertical size. Enter the horizontal size. Okay, this is better. So let's run the code. Okay, enter the vertical size. Let's say I want to enter 7. In my horizontal size, let's say 4. So you can see here. Uh-oh. Okay, horizontal. Okay, wrong choice of print. So this time, now I will change this to vertical, and this one is horizontal. Okay, that's how you check your code before submitting it. So this time I'm going to change to 7 and 5. So you can see here the size horizontal is 7 and vertical is, why is this? Okay, no, this is not changed because we did not change the variable here. So I suggest we change the variable, rows, and column. I don't know if this will still work. 7, let's say 5. Okay, horizontal. Now again, now we will change. Okay, the print statement. So this is your vertical. Okay, and this will be your horizontal. Sorry for that, but not sorry. Sorry, but I'm not sorry. Okay, again. Okay, that's what's good about programming is it will actually develop your patience. Okay, that's it. No, we have the size. No, the vertical size. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's the vertical size. The horizontal size. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 8 by 9. All right. Okay. Now we go to nested loop. This is the proper lecture for our nested loop. When we say nested loop, this is a loop, no, inside a loop. Okay. All right. No, in this time we are going to create an isosceles triangle of size 5 by 5 using asterisk. Take note, we will be using nested loop. So meaning the loop is inside another loop. All right, now let's start by creating the outer loop. So I will be using, we will call this one your outer loop. So I will call my variable as I. So for I in range, since we already know that we will be printing uh, the size 5 by 5, meaning to say for I in range of 5, uh, okay, that's 5. And then take note, I here will have an initial value of 0. Okay, take note, I will have an initial value of 0. And then we are going to print a blank statement. Okay. Now I will explain later what is that blank statement. If I'm going to, if we will remove it, what will happen to our line? Okay. Now again, this will be my inner loop. So for J in range, okay, take note. Okay. So when we are going to display the rectangle, so I will create a rectangle, a triangle here, okay, an isosceles triangle. Let's say that is this is my isosceles triangle using comments. Okay, using comments. Okay. So before you code, you need to visualize it first. Okay, this is my first comment. Okay, this is the triangle, an isosceles triangle of 5 by 5. This is 5 by 5. I will be using 5, size of 5. Okay, this is 5 by 5. Take note, initially I now is equal to 0. So meaning to say, since I is equals to 0, no, we will use that value now to print 1 asterisk. So in this case, now I will be using I now plus 1 because I will be printing 1 asterisk. Okay. So this is my inner loop. In my inner loop, I will print 1 asterisk. So meaning say, since I is 0, no, 0 plus 1 means 1, meaning say it will repeat 1 time. So what will be repeated 1 time? The printing of asterisk with a space. Okay. Okay, it will only print the asterisk with a space. Now, after printing asterisk with a space, now it will go back to the outer loop and increment I now becomes 1. Now that value of I will be the range, that is 1 plus 1, meaning to say J here will become, J variable will use 0 to 1. So meaning it will print 2, what you call it, 2 asterisk. After printing 2 asterisk, it will go back to the outer loop. No, set the value of I equals 2, and the value of I here will becomes 2 plus 1, that becomes 3, meaning to say for the inner loop, it will print 3 asterisk. Let's try until it prints 5 asterisk. Now, you will notice, okay, you will notice that the asterisk, no, is actually printed, but in the wrong direction because we need to print it horizontally using the end argument here. So we need to print it horizontally. Okay. Now run again. This time it is printed correctly. Now if you are going to remove the space here and put a space inside your end, that's your argument, it will print the same. Okay. Now if you want to change the size of the rectangle, you can say of the triangle, you can say I want to print 8 by 8 isosceles triangle. Change to 8, and charan, it will be printed. 8 by 8 isosceles triangle will be printed. Okay, now that's it for today's lecture. I hope you've learned something about printing shapes using your loop variable, using the inner loop and the outer loop to solve engineering problems. Now, in your hands-on programming number 5 using for loop, now you are going to solve problems written here. So the first problem is to write a program that prints out the list of integers from 1 to 20 and their squares. The output should look like this one. So meaning to say when you print 1 to 20, opposite of that will be the square of that number. In problem number 2, you are going to create a 10 by 10 multiplication table using loop, for loop. Okay, I will erase this part. um, using, okay, nested loop, nested for loop. Okay, 10 by 10 multiplication. Sorry for that again. This is a multiplication table. Where is it? Okay, it's here. These are examples. Let's go back to the hands-on problem. Okay, now, so we are going to create a multiplication table. I will change this one, multiplication table. Typo. No. Okay, now, so you will create a multiplication table, a 10 by 10 multiplication table. So when you say 1 to 10 and then 1 to 10, then multiply it. All right. Now, after that, now, this is your problem number 3. Now, you are going to create the same triangle that we have created a while ago, but this time, inverted. Okay, inverted isosceles triangle. And the user will input the size of the triangle. And for the challenge problem, you are going to use loops, okay, to uh, draw the diamond here. And you will allow user to input the size of the diamond. Is that okay? Okay. The size of the diamond refers to one side here. Like for example, 1, 2, 3, 4. The size here is 4. So 4 by 4 diamond. Okay, this is a 4 by 4 diamond. But you will allow the user to input the size of the diamond. Oh, okay, by the way, allow the user to specify how high the diamond should be. So meaning how high. So the diamond is actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7 is the height of the diamond. Okay, that's it for today. I hope you are learning your Python programming. Okay, for questions, you can PM me or you can chat me in our Facebook group. Okay, so goodbye and see you next meeting.